Late in the afternoon, on February the 27th, 1944, two American P-38 Lightnings tear through the sky, low over the jungles of New Guinea, on a top priority mission.
You ready?
Born ready.
They lean forward, willing their planes to go faster as they push down to full throttle. Their target lies at WWII airfield, where a Japanese transport plane is just setting down. Officers from the airfield rush out to meet the plane and greet the arrivals. But then, suddenly,
待て、なんだ、聞こえたか?
the roar of aircraft engines grows steadily louder. The Japanese have no time to react before a hail of fire rains down upon them. The transport plane is showered with bullets, passengers still inside, its thin aluminum skin providing no shelter from the incoming fire. The bullets slam through the transport plane and its occupants.
隠れろ、爆発するぞ!
The plane explodes in a shower of flame and shrapnel. The drone of the P-38s slowly fades.
待て、あいつらたった二人だけか。ありえん。
The stunned Japanese officers on the ground lift their heads to the skies. These shiny new planes gleam silver, and the sun catches their colourful, non-standard paint schemes. Both planes carry a large tally of victory marks.
Another round?
You know it.
The P-38s turn, and another strafing pass is made.
気をつけろ、奴らが戻ってくるぞ!
The Japanese scramble for cover. The pilots from their cockpit of their P-38s are Captain Dick Bong and Major Tommy Lynch. They salute to each other, celebrating another successful mission as wingmen. The two men are best friends, aces and celebrities in the Southwest Pacific Theatre, a unique partnership of two skilled aces and their painted planes known as the Flying Circus. Bong and Lynch touch down at Nadzab airfield and climb out of their aircraft.
Good job, buddy.
The plane was on the ground. It doesn't count. We both know that.
The pair are asked to report personally to General Kenny, commander of the 5th Air Force at his headquarters. Kenny knows Bong since flight school.
Tell me everything, son. Should we paint another meatball on Marge?
Media would love that for the ace race. Yeah, unlike Kearby.
Bong is in fierce competition with Kenny's other flying ace, Colonel Neel Kearby. Both men are pitted against each other in the media frenzy-driven ace race, a race to exceed America's top ace from the First World War, Eddie Rickenbacker, with his 26 victories.
Couldn't it have been just an inch or so above the runway? Maybe the wheels had touched and it bounced back into the air.
All right, sir. If Bong is okay with it, I am too.
General, he was on the ground all right. He had even stopped rolling.
On the 3rd of March, Bong shoots down at Key 61 with Lynch at his side flying his trusty P-38. The victory brings his tally to 22, one ahead of rival Neel Kearby.
Nice work. They don't stand a chance against you and Marge.
2 days later, it's Lynch's turn to score, bringing his tally to 17.
Great, kid. Don't get cocky.
On the same day at 5:40 p.m., 90 minutes out of Nadzab, the two aces observe a Mitsubishi Ki-21 Sally bomber on final approach to the airfield at Taji. Lynch swoops in, making a firing pass, and Bong follows up for the kill in Marge. The Sally is down. It tumbles into the forest below, tearing down trees and exploding in a fireball. Another victory for Bong. The two pilots climb back to 6,000 feet, at which time they spot 5 enemy fighters straight ahead of them, flying low over the sea. The Flying Circus attacks from behind as Bong and Lynch each fire on a Ki 61. Bong lands plenty of hits on target, but he overtakes his prey while it's still flying. He turns evasively, knowing he's now directly within the Ki 61's sights and its firing line. A shot of adrenaline runs through Bong, but a split second later,
Yahoo!
Lynch opens fire on the Ki 61, shattering the aircraft.
They're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.
Bong lets himself relax, grinning and turns to make another sweep over the field at Taji, where he spots 2 more key 21s on the final approach. Lynch takes the lead and opens fire. But suddenly,
Damn it! I'm out of ammo!
this time around, Bong jumps in to cover Lynch, latching onto the tail of the same aircraft and obliterating the key 21. Bong's score now stands at 24 with Lynch at 19. Just 2 days later, on March the 5th, Bong and Lynch are hunting in the airspace above Taji and WWII.
Going in. I'll get the lead bandit.
Roger that. I got the rest.
The pair dive on the Oscars from 17,000 feet. Lynch immediately locks on and nails one of the Japanese fighters. But Bong spots more incoming enemy planes. He makes several firing passes at various Oscars, but he doesn't score any observable hits.
Damn it!
Then, he spots one enemy fighter heading north, away from the battle. He pushes the throttle forward and easily catches up. Bong opens fire at 400 yards and the Oscar crashes into the ground near the WWII airfield. Bong races back to Lynch to find him surrounded by Japanese planes. Bong rushes to the aid of his wingman and a shower of bullets fills the air, but neither side land any hits.
We're losing our edge! Let's get out of here!
They disengage and pull up through the cloud to escape the frustrated Japanese pilots. Whilst the Flying Circus head home, Neel Kearby is anxious to catch up with Bong and Lynch.
Let's go!
He's flying alongside 2 other pilots in a P-47 Thunderbolt fighter. Kearby makes contact with the enemy near WWII at about 5:20 p.m, unaware that the Flying Circus had been in the same airspace just 4 hours earlier. The Americans claim 1 Mitsubishi G3M NAL bomber each, and Kearby grins at the prospect of yet another victory. But in their eagerness to attack, the pilots had failed to notice a dozen Japanese fighters following the 3 bombers into Daguerre.
It's a trap! We've got to get out of here!
3 Key 43 Oscars in the lead immediately open fire on the Americans. The 3 Thunderbolts are surrounded. They attempt to cover each other as they flee, but they're soon separated. The 2 other P-47s return home, hoping to reunite back at base. But when they land,
There's just 2 of them? Yeah, where's Kearby? Did he land? Is he all right?
the wait goes on and on. Kearby never came home. He would officially remain listed as missing in action until after the war.
What happened? Kearby!
But although Bong and Lynch are shaken, they refuse to give up on their chance to beat Rickenbacker's record. The Flying Circus resolves to battle on. By March the 8th, 1944, Bong and Lynch are on the hunt again. No Japanese fighters are encountered. But Bong sees some Japanese coastal supply ships steaming towards Hollandia. The 2 men nod to each other and drop to wave-top level. Wingtip to wingtip, they dash for one of the vessels and pepper it with bullets. The ship is immediately engulfed in flames, and supplies destined for the Japanese army never make it. Encouraged by their success, the duo skim across the waves expertly towards the next ship and prepare to open fire. But just as their bullets strafe the lugger, a stream of anti-aircraft fire heads towards them, and Lynch's P-38 is showered in bullets. The nose of his plane is badly damaged, and the plane starts to belch smoke. They immediately turn for home as they pull up to 2,500 feet. Bong sees an ominous trail of black smoke pouring from his friend's plane.
How bad is my engine burning?
It's okay. You're gonna be alright.
But soon he sees his friend's P-38 begin to lose altitude.
Lynch! Bail out! Now!
Lynch exits the left side of the canopy, but as he does, the forward section of the P-38 falls away, and the aircraft goes straight into freefall. Bong can barely breathe. His stare is trained on the stretch of blue sky where the P-38 once was. The plane itself plunges far below, but Bong sees Lynch and his parachute pack fall clear of the plane, and for what feels like the longest seconds of his life, he waits for the white puff of a parachute opening. But he doesn't see one. Bong starts to panic. He dives Marge straight down towards the ground. He desperately circles the crash site, looping again and again in searches for signs of life. But he finds nothing. Now, alone, he returns to base. The Flying Circus is no more. In less than a week, General Kenny had lost Lynch and Kearby, two of his best pilots.
You know, son, there's no shame in taking a break.
Thank you, sir. But I knew Lynch, Tommy, well, and I know he would have wanted me to keep flying.
On April the 3rd, 1944, a Key 43 Oscar is set alight high over Hollandia and plunges to the ground. It's Bong's 25th kill. Despite the lack of his wingman, he's still an unstoppable force, with just one victory short of Eddie Rickenbacker's 26. The rumour now is that Bong will be sent home if he reaches 27 victories, to keep him as a living hero rather than risk losing him in combat. But after Lynch's death, Bong longs to return home, writing to his girlfriend Marge.
I'm so near the top. Do you think I'll make it?
His question would be answered on April the 12th when the 5th Air Force sends nearly 200 bombers escorted by 60 P-38s to destroy Japanese positions along the coast from Hollandia to WWII. Marge had been damaged in a previous fight, so Bong is forced to borrow a P-38 called Downbeat from another pilot. He's flying at the back of the squadron, a position known as Tail End Charlie. Intercepted Japanese pilots would often aim for planes in this part of the formation, looking to take down stragglers as easy prey. But Bong has put himself there deliberately. He means to turn the hunted into the hunter. They arrive over Hollandia, and at 11:30 they are intercepted by the Japanese Army Air Force. The Americans are attacked from above and below as a chaotic battle breaks out. Another P-38 scores a first victory as Bong turns for a nearby Oscar. The Key 43 attempts to drive through the cloud to escape, but Bong pursues him, guns blazing. By the time the enemy exits the cloud on the other side, it's already a blazing wreck. This is to be his 26th confirmed victory. Bong dives on an Oscar below, but the Japanese pilot sees him coming and dives for sea level. But Bong follows the Japanese fighter all the way to the point that the planes are skimming just above the waves. The agile Oscar desperately pulls swings from right to left to evade the fire. But Bong is relentless and lands hits on the Oscar's right wing. The Japanese plane loses stability and banks hard. This is his 27th victory. He returns home. He has exceeded all other US AAF aces to date. General Kenny immediately promotes Bong to Major and grounds him from flying in combat. In the 5th Air Force HQ, the pilots celebrate Bong's record-breaking victories.
Here's to you, son, the best damn pilot in the force. You made it.
Thank you, sir. And here's to those we lost along the way.
Bong is then dispatched to the US. He immediately visits Marge and his family, but is soon swept back into the constant motion of his responsibilities and returns to service, visiting training bases and embarking on a 15-state bond promotion tour. This is until Bong is posted back to the Southwest Pacific area, officially to be based at NADSAB as a non-combatant instructor. His job, officially, is to teach new pilots to become aces. General Kenny gives him permission to fly with combat patrols, but he specifically instructs his ace of aces to fire only in self-defense. But Dick Bong is unable to stay away from the action for long. The US is planning a massive bombing raid on Japanese positions in Balikpapan. It's heavily defended, and the American bombers will need a formidable fighter escort. Seeing that things could be shaping up for a colossal air battle on October the 10th, he volunteers to fly. At 10:45 a.m., Bong spots a lone aircraft far below.
This is Bong. There's something odd down there. Mind if we take a look?
Roger that, Bong. Good hunting.
10 minutes later, the flight approaches the singular plane, and Bong accelerates, maneuvering onto the enemy's tail. The enemy aircraft is a Nakajima J-1N Gecko, codenamed Irving by the Allies. The Irving pilot is shocked to see Bong on his tail. He makes a turn to the right, but Bong is like glue. He gives the enemy aircraft a short burst of fire, and the Irving bursts into flames. Bong smiles and follows the squadron as it reverses course and heads on towards Balikpapan. Having already beaten the record, Bong still feels the thrill of collecting yet another victory. Near Balikpapan, the flight discovers a large number of Mitsubishi A6M0s and Nakajima Ki-43 Oscars climbing to intercept American B-25s. This time though, the squadron commander leads a diving attack. But the Japanese pilot he's targeted uses the P-38's superior airspeed against him. Bong watches as the Oscar tricks the P-38 pilot into overshooting. But the Oscar's pilot had not planned on having Dick Bong witness this little sleight of hand.
They're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.
Hang in there, son. This ain't gonna happen on my watch.
The Japanese pilot and his aircraft plunge through the sky towards the sea below. Bong now has 30 victories to his credit.
I would have been toast if you hadn't been there to cover my back, Bong. Thank God you're in the game again.
Roger that. Glad to be back. Now let's finish this and go home.
Despite his strict orders to avoid combat, he continues to add to his record. By December the 17th, 1944, he's increased his air-to-air victory claims to 40. In January 1945, General Kenny finally intervenes. After serving in the Southwest Pacific Theater for over 2 years, Richard Bong, America's ace of aces, is sent home for good.